What is the weirdest cartoon you ever saw? Ren and Stimpy. This wasn't even remotely like anything else on TV. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Weird cartoon series. Happy Tree Friends. Childhood Trauma LMAO. Super Jail. Salad Fingers. The Oblongs. Surprised not to see Cow and Chicken. What a fucking strange one. And Cat Dog. Where did it poop? Out each other's mouths. The Mysterious Stranger. An adapted Mark Twain claymation short. Quite haunting for a show meant for kids. The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. Shit fucked me up. Runner-up is The Midnight Gospel on Netflix. It's like watching an animated podcast about spirituality, but on acid. Fun fact, it was made by Pendleton Ward, who also made Adventure Time. Another really trippy, in a good way, show. Midnight Gospel just feels like Rick and Morty plus Adventure Time, and it does a pretty good job. Just not my cup of tea, I suppose. Uncle Grandpa. Aeon Flux. Especially on Liquid TV because it would show parts of an episode between other stuff. It was so confusing and just plain weird. I loved it because it didn't care that you had no clue of what the hell was going on. Aeon Flux was almost like watching someone else's dreams they were having as a result of too many cheeseburgers and booze. People forget how bizarre 90s MTV was. Rocco's Modern Life was pretty weird back in the day, which is why I loved it growing up. Aqua Teen Hunger Force. You friggin' morons. Tonight. You. A strange hentai I saw many years ago. It's about a traveling salesman who goes around sexes with girls and cities he visits. Somehow he has a living detachable penis. And during the deed the focus shifts towards the penis as it journeys through the woman's love canal and meets strange creatures inside. I swear it exists but was never able to find it again. I'm definitely sure it's around the 80s. Edit. If someone even has a clue as to what it might be, please tell me. I think I've generated a following here. I'm sure it's Japanese in origin. Edit 2. Found it. It's called Yaruki Man Man, or Mr. Happy. The way I remember is that it was detachable and is a little animal. But now that I know more about Japanese censorship, it's apparently just their way around those sensitive matters by using the animal motif. Man, you guys are thirsty for sauce. There were 3 episodes made. Enjoy it on your Google search. I'm so disturbed and intrigued. Drawn together. Mr. Pickles. I hate how shows like this seem to exist exclusively to ruin people's highs by showing them constant imagery of hell and Satan. Shows like Metalocalypse were incredibly fun to watch on Adult Swim, but Mr. Pickles always came off as trying a bit too hard for me. Fritz the Cat. Xavier Renegade Angel, hands down the strangest cartoon I've seen. I think it was called Yvonne of the Yukon. That wasn't just a childhood fever dream. There really was a cartoon about a Frenchman who only wore underpants and got freed from his Steve Rogers prison by a pissing husky. Ah, I remember that. It was one of the many Canadian-made cartoons that were shown on CBBC in my childhood. Credit where it's due. I think it's the only cartoon I ever saw that had any representation of Aboriginal Canadians. They seem to be ignored on the whole by the media. WTF Adult Swim. Squidbillies love it, but it's weird. Super Jail is also a freaking acid trip. Squidbillies is so underrated. I swear it's some of the best satire on TV. But I have such a hard time getting anyone to watch it because of how fucking strange it is. My friends always complained about the animation quality, stoners complaining about quality it. To a monsieur who knew. Lord, please forgive me for stealing these sumbitchin' speakers that would sound gooder than hell in the back of my truck. The Midnight Gospel. That show feels like Rick and Morty meets Adventure Time to me. And it's not really a combination I knew I wanted. Worker and Parasite. What the hell was that? Question mark, exclamation mark. Angela Anaconda. I actually even enjoyed watching it as a kid. I'm weird, I know. I freaking loved that show as a kid. When I was younger, I really enjoyed browsing Newgrounds. I found a lot of cool animated shows about Sonic, but then Sonic porn slipped in somehow. Scarred for life. Started with random animated flashes. 10 years later, it's a chronic addiction to hentai. I never got furries. Then I saw Space Ya Monsieur. How dare you call my hobby chronic? Beavis and Butthead. Are you threatening me? Would you like to spatula? Asterisk asterisk I am Cornholio. Asterisk asterisk. As a 90s kid, Ren and Stimpy will have me scarred for life. Courage the Cowardly Dog is pretty up there too. The Head. A cartoon on MTV during the Eon Flux Beavis and Butthead era. It was weird as hell and I loved it. FLCL. 12 Oz Mouse, 12 Oz Mouse, 12 Oz Mouse. That guy was such a dork. We should rob that bank. China, ill. Ugly Americans was weird at the time. Ralph Bakshi's Wizards. I saw it at like 3 in the morning and thought I hallucinated it. Cow and Chicken. Anyone remember Uncle Boneless? I thought it was Cousin Boneless. Mr. Meaty was pretty fucking weird. The only one anyone ever remembers is the tapeworm episode. Before the days of Adult Swim, there was a show that came on late on Cartoon Network called Oh Canada. It was a showcase of Canadian animated shorts with different creators. The one short I remembered was about a woman who somehow gets this cloning machine. But the way it works is that it kills the original and creates a perfect copy. Like that movie The Prestige. Anyway, the lady end up cloning herself multiple times and sing a song about being a brand new her. Clean slate kinda deal. At the time it was kind of a mind fuck. Invader Zim. Fantastic Planet. I saw it on TV when I was about 3, then I saw a clip of it on the movie The Cell. I had been searching for that movie for 17 years. Then I remembered what it looked like and I found it. I still don't totally understand it, but it is so strange and absolutely amazing. Just said the same thing. Many years ago I saw the VHS in Bradley's and bought it because it was cheap and the box was cool. Got home and watched it and was easily the most WTF thing I've seen, and I've seen some shit. Boku no Pico. _U. Exclamation mark. _. Took me too far to scroll down to find this. The Misadventures of Flapjack. Dear God, what were they on? It's a good idea, but then they made everything look so depressing and a lot of characters look like murderers. Overly graphic faces scared the piss out of me. Dr. Barber and Candy Wife were legit nightmare fuel. Weird, that was my favorite show. Captain Knuckles is the reason I drink maple syrup every day. The first and only 5 minutes of Chowder I've seen involved, I think, his dad spraying boogers from his nose directly into Chowder's mouth. And then he licks his lips and says, monsieur. Creamy. Quote. That's gonna be a hard no from me. Dog. I can't for the life of me figure out what episode that is. The Beatles' Yellow Submarine movie. Hands down, the Ren and Stimpy show. The Brothers Grunt, a Canadian show made by the same people that made Ed, and Eddie. Just the previews for that made me queasy as a kid. Some film called The Littlest Unicorn or something. Not The Last Unicorn. Some little unicorn has to contend with an evil wizard. The wizard had very square fingertips. The good wizard cast flowers from his fingertips. I've never been able to find any record of it. Edit. I really have to thank everyone for the Unico links. I've searched on and off for years trying to find this when the trauma popped back into my mind. Was it Unico? Did the bad guy turn everyone into wooden puppets? If so, it was Unico, and yeah, it was freaky. Uncle Grandpa. Trauma. Pop Team Epic is hard to describe. Just watch the first episode. It's strange. Pop Team Epic is pretty easy to describe. It's shitposting in manga form that got popular enough that they started shitposting on Japanese television. Gumby. Rewatched some recently and it was still very terrifying. Completely surreal when viewed today as an adult. Xavier, a renegade angel. I'm surprised this isn't higher up. Love this show, in a weird acid trip kind of way. You look so superficial. You probably judge people by their physical appearance. Courage the Cowardly Dog creeped me the fuck out as a kid. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Devilman Crybaby was the most bizarre anime I've ever watched. Enthralling, but so weird. The first episode really threw me off, but I'm glad I ended up watching the rest of it. This is what I was looking for. It started out okay, then got super weird. If anime counts, then for sure Bobo Bobo. Cool World, Mr. Pickles. Shit's weird. Piputo. And yet, I couldn't stop watching. Warning, it's NSFW. Ed and Eddie. Personally, I would have to say Jacob Tutu. Booba. I was homesick from school one day when I was maybe 10 or 11. And because we didn't have cable, the only cartoons to watch were PBS Kids shows. I was pretty delirious to the point that Teletubbies came on and I was fine with it. But then this new show I'd never heard of was on next. What I saw simultaneously felt like 30 minutes and only a few seconds. And I couldn't tell if it was a very long intro for the show or if there was an actual plot happening. I ended up turning off the TV and tried to sleep, but was too disturbed from what I'd seen. Has-Been Hotel. A good weird. Venture Bros. Love that show. Watership Down. I'm shocked I had to scroll this far down to find Watership Down. That was the first movie that popped into my head. I'm still scarred. We own this DVD of Aardman short films, not Wallace and Gromit or Shaun the Sheep stuff either. They did some fucked up, trippy stuff. The Mr. Hell Show. I don't remember much about it except there was a segment called Surge the Baby Seal or something. And he has flashbacks of his parents being clubbed and goes on super bloody rampages. It was on SBS in Australia about 15 to 20 years ago. Surge the Seal of Death. It was you! Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Quote. Fantasia is pretty fucking weird. I couldn't imagine seeing that shit in 1940. Happy Tree Friends. Midnight Gospel. It's basically a podcast disguised as a cartoon. Lots of really weird, almost psychedelic imagery. Does anyone else remember Chopsaki Chooks? It was on Cartoon Network like 12 years ago, and I always remembered the name as being Kung Pao Chicken. Listen, it involved chickens in Asian-inspired wardrobe and they were fighting kung fu style. It made sense. In my head, shit was asterisk weird asterisk. Whenever I try to tell anyone, they have no clue what I'm talking about, and I'm almost convinced it was a fever dream. I wish I didn't. I love Big Mouth. Not really a children's cartoon though. Some of the shit that happens in that show is very weird. Big Mouth fucking slaps. I liked parts of it, but I stopped watching after the second season because I thought some of it was getting a little too gross and raunchy. Also, Jess's mom really pissed me off. You're treating your husband like shit for no reason. Cheating on him with your daughter's rabbi because you don't know what sexuality you are, and it's your daughter who needs to see a therapist. Just because she's understandably not handling any of this well? What a bitch. Tentacle hentai. Yeah, it's weird for me. Yes, it indeed is. Amateur. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Gave me creepy vibes. Midnight Gospel. It's actually pretty cool. Super Jail. There's a gay bar near me that plays German porn cartoons from the 70s on loop. Rock and Roll. I remember seeing it when I was young enough to think cartoon equals for kids. It is not for kids. Iggy Pop voices a humanoid rat who is trying to summon Satan with music or something. It scarred me as a kid, so I haven't seen it since. I also had some confused feelings about Debbie Harry's mouse character, which is probably why I'm not allowed in pet shops anymore. The Super Mario cartoon really lets you know how racist the 80s were. Rock and Roll is definitely up there. Everyone in the movie is a goofy-esque dog person, but like, in an uncanny valley way. It's an epic rock fable set in a dystopian future and is about a Mick Jagger rip-off rock star villain named Mock who wants to use music to bring the devil under his control to destroy the world. because he is aging and becoming a has-been. He can only raise the ultimate demon with a special voice who belongs to a blonde bombshell Debbie Harry dog person named Angel. He takes her by force when she refuses to leave her band to join him, and her bandmates set out to rescue her before the demon is raised from hell. It features songs by Deborah Harry, Cheap Trick and Lou Reed, and was animated by Nelvana, same company behind the Care Bears movies, the animated scenes in the Star Wars Holiday Special, and hundreds of 80s, 90s though animated shows. It's a wild ride as far as animated movies go. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.